Fireball! No, I'm not talking about the popular weekend party drink, and I'm certainly not talking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer's reindeer friend, folks. I'm talking about this. Check this out. This is a meteor that fell out of the sky yesterday. Lots and lots of people around the southeast saw this. This is CBS's X feed, and they captured a lot of that video, put it together, and you can see the compilation there. How interesting would that be to have seen that? And look at this. Brad Panovich caught he's got a picture here of it, just kind of a still shot in the sky. But look here, it actually landed, and it was confirmed to have hit someone's house in Georgia. How would you like to be sitting in your living room and a meteorite come through the roof and land down on the floor? My goodness gracious, man, that would have been something to see. But it'd be kind of cool to find a meteorite too at the same time. So that's cool. And while we're on X, by the way, this is Cold Rain's Twitter feed or X feed, and I captured this picture of Mamadas from a line of storms that formed along a boundary. I told you we're in a boundary-driven environment just to our south, and shot out big canopy of clouds. Some of those storms went severe, obviously, and there's your Mamadas from that. And I also captured kind of another cool image here. There's Eddie Van Halen. This looks like an eruption. That's why I put him in there, because in case you don't know, Van Halen had a song called Eruption. But there is kind of in the mountains in the distance, it looks like a volcano with ash coming out. I thought that was kind of neat. But anyway, going to be another active day out there. We've got severe weather to talk about. We're going to get into that here in just a second. Plenty of pop-up showers and thunderstorms going to be in the forecast. And then as we get into next week, we're going to see a little bit of a pattern change. Talked about it yesterday, going to get into that too. And take a look at your weekend and beach forecast and wrap up with the space weather and geological updates. So folks, we've got a lot to get into, and we're going to start with the severe weather outlook. When thunder roars, go indoors. My friends, we need to take that seriously. So far in 2025, 4 people have lost their lives due to lightning strikes. In 2024, 12 fatalities occurred. And even the other day in Lake Murray, South Carolina, little thunderstorm formed. It wasn't big severe weather. It wasn't a prolific lightning maker, but a bolt out of that thunderstorm hit Lake Murray and injured 20 people. Some of those had to go to the hospital. So when you hear that thunder, fortunately nobody died, but when you hear that thunder, you got to get out of the open, get inside if you can. And many of us are going to see lightning and hear thunder east of the Rockies, and pretty much all the way to the East Coast. We're going to see plenty of showers and thunderstorms developing this afternoon, sort of in a pop-up variety. Got a little extra instability and more downdraft cape around the Appalachian Mountains into the southeast today, so we're going to see potential for microbursts here. So that's why we've got a marginal risk of severe weather with those. A little bit better of a chance of organized severe weather here in eastern Michigan as a little piece of spin moves through in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. A little wind energy there could organize the threat. But back here in the Dakotas, man, you guys have been under the gun all summer. Minot, Bismarck, and Fargo into Aberdeen and Rapid City, Pierre into central Nebraska. That's our focus this afternoon for supercells developing, forming into clusters later on as we get in late into the evening, and could see certainly a severe wind threat and hail threat there. Tornadoes not out of the question too. Marginal risk around that. There's the tornado threat. Center, south central North Dakota, north central South Dakota is where it's maximized. Supercells are going to develop ahead of a piece of energy working through late in the evening, bringing wind shear and spin in the atmosphere. But wind is going to be a big threat where supercells develop, merge into clusters, and extreme cape is going to help organize those outflows. And you could see some winds gusting 80, 90 miles per hour. Not everybody's going to see that, but certainly be alert for it. Keep your since we're going to get into the evening hours with some of this, make sure you have a way to receive weather alerts. Watch the radar through the evening. Hail up to the size of baseballs also possible, as we've got intense instability, extreme instability, creating intense updrafts. Tomorrow the threat shifts predominantly eastern South Dakota, central and southern Minnesota, including the Twin Cities. Marginal risk around that for isolated severe. And then from New York State, eastern New York, back into the northern mid-Atlantic, we could see isolated severe weather too. But pop-up showers and thunderstorms everywhere on Sunday, over here to the UP of Michigan down through central Wisconsin, and then around that is where we see isolated to scattered severe thunderstorms possible. And again, hail and wind being the primary threat. For all of the thunderstorm production that we're expecting, we need heat, we need moisture and we need cooling aloft, and we've got that really working all together nicely up here in the Dakotas. Mid 80s making it into the Canadian border, with mid 90s just south of there, all the way back into the southeast Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, and really keeping us warm. Far cry from those hundreds, though, that we've been seeing in those massive heat index values. We still have heat advisories, but those extreme values are certainly working down as we get on toward the weekend, which is good. 60s and 70s up in the northeast, 60s out here in the Pacific Northwest, with another trough working in here, keeping things cool. Seattle 68, San Joaquin Valley in the 90s, and hundreds in the desert Southwest, where Phoenix is getting up to around 107 degrees. Whew, it's dry heat, but still too hot for me. I know you guys can handle it out there, but I don't like it. Dakotas, here's where our instability is, folks. Look at this. Fuel for thunderstorms, instability going up into the extreme values. Whites and purples are pretty high. And then you can see instability everywhere else. And it starts to get eaten away like Pac-Man. The thunderstorms eat up that instability. You can kind of see that as we go on through the evening hours here in South Dakota really nicely, as a line of thunderstorms moves through there. Everything kind of calms down as we lose the heating of the day and builds right back tomorrow. And you can see tomorrow our main area of instability, Minnesota back into Nebraska, Iowa, and then kind of another axis along a frontal boundary as a system kind of moves this way. You got a low pressure moving that way, trailing a frontal boundary back. And so that'll be the focus for showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, but pop-up storms really anywhere in that instability regime, and that'll abate overnight. And taking a look at kind of the future radar, how we see this play out over the next couple of days. Friday afternoon, we get on into the afternoon, 2 o'clock and beyond, we're going to see showers and storms pop up all over the south and mid-south, and up here into the Great Lakes as well, back into Texas. Boundaries from yesterday's convection, boundaries coming out of new convection, little troughs, frontal boundaries, things like that, all kick off showers and storms. But nothing, you look here at our severe weather threat area, nothing going on. That piece of energy is going to work through later on in the evening. So we get to about 7, 8 o'clock, we start to see things fire up off and get kicked off here in South Dakota. And as we go on through the evening, that'll persist. And look what happens as we get on toward midnight. Late into the evening hours in North Dakota, we start to see those supercells develop, merge together, potentially bringing a wind threat. Looks like a little spin here, maybe even an MCV coming through, helping to organize things a bit, pool those outflows together and increase the wind threat. So all of that moves into Minnesota as we get into the overnight hours. Some of that will persist into the early morning hours. Things calm down in the southeast, and that system pushing into the northeast will keep us rainy up there. But everywhere else looking good, particularly out west. Not much going on out there. But kind of the main takeaway for today, folks, is that system's going to be working into the late evening hours. Some of the models differ on the timing of it, but pay attention from around 6, 7 o'clock all the way through midnight. You need to be weather aware up there, because we could see a lot in the way of severe weather reports when all is said and done. And then tomorrow, we start all over. Here's that low pressure up here in New England, trailing frontal boundary back. You can see the line kind of lighting up, but general pop-up showers and thunderstorms everywhere else. Up here in Minnesota, you'll see those showers kick off, turn into thunderstorms rapidly, and they'll go severe with all of that instability. Little line working back in here into South Dakota and Nebraska as well. Eventually things work off into Wisconsin. Things die down across much of the rest of the country. That system's moving out of New England, and then we get another little batch of cluster of storms moving through South Dakota into Nebraska, Wisconsin. You're seeing thunderstorms all the way through the evening and overnight hours into Sunday morning. And that's what we're looking at from a severe weather standpoint, folks. We've got your weekend update coming right up. But before that, we're going to continue our oceanic theme and test your weather IQ about oceans. Today's WeatherIQ question continues our oceanic theme, folks, and the question is very straightforward today. What percentage of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans? About 40%, about 50%, 85%, or 71%? Now, we're not looking for exact figures here. That's why we've got the word about in there. So let me know what you think the answer is. Put it in the comment section if you know it. If you don't, just wait till the end of the show, or about the end of the show, and I will tell you the answer, and then you can tell all of your friends what you learned at Cold Rain's Weather World. Send them over here. If you know people that are interested in this kind of stuff, seriously, send them over here. Let's grow the community, and sharing is caring, and well, I can't figure out how to wrap up this segment, so we're just going to end there and get to your weekend forecast. What have you got planned for the weekend, folks? Heading down to the beach, having some people over for a barbecue, getting some of that outdoor activity time in, pickleball, cornhole, things like that. Well, hey, Let's just see if the weather will cooperate with you. If it doesn't, you can always go inside, make it a blockbuster night, rent a video, maybe make a mixtape. I don't know. Get outside if you can, though. That's what it's all about. Get outside and have fun. Enjoy the weather and enjoy the day. Enjoy the world. Looking at our vapor loop, we're going to see what it shows us, and it shows us quite a few things. We've had that big high pressure area sitting across the east and southeast. And look at this little counterclockwise swirl is an area of just a weak area of low pressure that's worked in. It's situated under that ridge. Plenty of moisture coming in out of Mexico. Been watching that head toward the Great Lakes and then off into the northeast, bringing cloud cover, occasional rain, and showers under that as well. Another system back in Montana that's going to help spark severe weather later in the Dakotas, and then clouds and showers working into the Pacific Northwest too. Clouds up in the parts of the Mid-Atlantic region and into the southeast. So a lot of little systems here on the vapor. That's why I like to show it. It shows you kind of a little bit of a better depiction of where the energy is, better than a satellite picture can do sometimes. Taking a look at the alerts map, of course, we're seeing less real estate covered in orange and red. Still got some heat advisories up from the Ohio Valley, Western Tennessee Valley, where heat index values could approach 100, but not as much up and down the East Coast as we've seen. Certainly Eastern North Carolina could see a little bit more in the way of heat index values out here too, but everybody else looking pretty good. Fog burning off in the Dakotas as we go through the morning. Red flag warnings in parts of Colorado where it's dry and windy. Don't burn up there. Still a couple of flash flood watches out here in West Texas, eastern New Mexico. So pay attention in case you get any heavy downpours. And then extreme heat warnings up here in southern Arizona for temperatures soaring into the 1-teens as we get on in toward Monday. Going to be hot. Wind, we're going to see winds gusting in the higher peaks and then into Colorado as well, maybe into the 30s occasionally, and then up here in the Dakotas and the Great Lakes around thunderstorms. Otherwise, background winds generally going to be 5 to 10, not anything really to write home about, but just a few wind gusts here and there in the 20s across portions of the country, not so much in the Midwest down to the western southeast, looking pretty good there. Air quality, good for most of the country, just down here in the southwest, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Fresno, Los Angeles, San Diego could see a little stagnant air, some particulates down there. So if you're sensitive to it, as always, stay inside. Surface map, not going to belabor this, but a big area of the country could see pop-up showers and thunderstorms along boundaries. You're going to see that a little bit more focused. There's our severe weather threat in the Dakotas, eastern Michigan as well, and a boundary up here. And so we're going to see a little bit more of activity maybe in the mid-Atlantic area. You could see some severe weather, isolated basis up and down the Appalachians. Tomorrow, the severe weather threat, Minnesota, back into South Dakota. Low pressure working through Canada is going to produce showers out ahead of that. So more in a concentrated basis, you could see a little bit more in the way of rain up here in New England, south of that frontal boundary. Going to be hot and muggy again with pop-up showers and thunderstorms on into Sunday. Kind of the same thing as that low pressure moves out. A few showers hanging on in northern Maine, but New England starts to clear out. South of that boundary is going to be hot and muggy again with more showers and thunderstorms possible across much of the eastern portion of the country. Severe weather in Wisconsin like we talked about before. High temperatures, let's go back here and take a look at Saturday before we get to Sunday. Cool in the northeast with showers and clouds around up into the northern Great Lakes as well, but plenty of 90s through the southeast and southern portion of the country, up into the nation's midsection, all the way up into the mid and even upper 90s showing up. Getting warmer up here in the plains, starting to warm up slightly in the northwest as that trough starts to work in, and we're going to see a ridge build out there come next week. San Joaquin Valley, desert southwest heating up too, and then Sunday it just gets hotter out here. Phoenix 112 and starting to approach 100 in here in the San Joaquin Valley, warming up in the northwest. Seattle 82 and in the 70s to 80s out here, and Spokane up into the 90s. 80s up in the plains and 90s across much of the south with mid 90s possible. And we're going to see a little bit of a pattern change coming up. We're going to get into that in the long range outlook. In the meantime, here's what we're looking at in terms of just the future radar as we get into Saturday afternoon. Frontal boundary lights up, scattered showers and thunderstorms popping up in Minnesota. We're not seeing a lot out of the model here, but I expect a few more showers or thunderstorms up there. We could see some of those turn severe. And then as overnight things calm down as we get on into Sunday afternoon. Again, pop-up showers and thunderstorms, and up here in Wisconsin, Iowa is where we see the best concentration of potential thunderstorms, with some of those going severe out here on the front range of the Rockies as well. And that's your weekend forecast. See, we're not seeing a lot of organized areas of heavy rain that just persist and wash you out. So you should have a pretty good weekend. But what about if you're heading out to the beaches? Well, we're going to take a look at that right now. Man, I wish I was going out to the beach, folks. I haven't been in about a year, so I'm looking forward to going out laying on the sand, catching some rays, and eating some seafood. Hey, and if you are subscribed to this channel, thank you very much for doing that. We're over 900 subscribers now, by the way. And if you haven't signed on yet, please consider doing so. Give the video a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know where you're commenting from, where you're watching from, and let me know what kind of weather you're seeing. I'm always interested in that, and I appreciate all those that have done that. We've got people in Texas and Indiana and Georgia and South Carolina and somewhere out west. People have been watching the show, and I really appreciate all of that, and others as well. So let me know where you're watching from. If you're going to the beach, hope you have a great time this weekend. You're going to get some rain the first part of the weekend up here in Maine. What I'm showing you is what I showed yesterday. It's the probability of precipitation over a 12-hour period. And the 12-hour period I'm showing you is 8 a.m. Saturday morning, East Coast, 8 to 8 p.m. Saturday, East Coast. And you can see what type of chance of rain you have during that block. Could fall in the morning, afternoon, or evening. A lot of these will be pop-up showers, except for up here in Maine, where you see that low pressure working through. So we got high probabilities of precipitation along the coast up here. Not so much once we get down here past New Jersey, maybe 30–50% up here, northern New Jersey. And then we get on down here to North Carolina, down to South Carolina, looking pretty good. We get on down to Florida, looking a little bit more iffy in terms of showers, probably 50–60% chance, something like that throughout the day. So you may have to dodge a few down in Florida along the beautiful coast down there. Gulf Coast looking a lot higher in terms of just daily precipitation chances down here. So you're going to have to dodge showers along the Gulf Coast for sure. Up in the Great Lakes, not looking too shabby up there. What about Sunday? Well, let's move the slider over here. Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Look, I told you, it's getting better up in New England, all the way down into the mid-Atlantic. Maybe bumps up slightly along the coast out here in the Carolinas, but not too bad. Not until you get down to southern South Carolina and Florida do we see things ramp up to 50, maybe 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast too. So you may have to dodge a few of those. If you want to take a look at a couple of these specific beaches up here, let's take a look here in New Jersey and see what we've got going on up here, up toward Long Beach. We look at Asbury Park, for example. Saturday, 50% chance of storms, high around 80. Sunday, mostly sunny, high 81. Moderate risk of rip currents, so pay attention up there. Moderate UV index with a little more cloud cover. Water temperatures in the low 70s. If we go on out here and take a look, take a trip down here to South Carolina, maybe we look at Charleston and see what's going on at Charleston, for example. 30% Sunday, 30% Saturday, high temperatures in the upper 80s, not much risk of a rip current. UV index very, very high, water temperatures in the mid 80s, so that'll feel nice. A couple of more we can look at here down toward Miami Beach. Let's take a look at that and see what we've got down here. Got to click on it first before we can do it and get on down here to Miami Beach. Man, it's going to be nice down here. I think probably Saturday, a little bit in the way of shower activity, and then Sunday as well. Probably have to dodge a few thunderstorms. Temperatures in the upper 80s, water temperatures in the mid 80s, low risk of rip currents. And we'll take one more stop real quick, go over on to take a look here at, we can't look at that one, that one's not online, but look at Texas here and take a look here at this. I'm not sure how to say that, so I'll let you just read it. So, 50% chance on Sunday, UV index extreme, so you better put on that upper 80s, by the way, for the water temperature, so you better put that lotion on. Hey, and I don't want to leave our West Coast friends out. Let's do one here at Southern California and maybe take a look at Huntington Beach and see what it looks like here. So Huntington Beach, look at this. Nothing going on the West Coast at all. Just 70s, water temperature around 70, low risk of rip currents. And that's your beach forecast, folks. Hope you have a fun time if you head out. We're going to take a look at that long range and see what kind of pattern change is coming. All right, as we get on into next week, the pattern change is on. We've been looking at this, folks, and we are going to see some changes heading our way in the form of ridge and trough placements, which matters to precipitation and temperatures. Look at this, ridge building in the west as we head toward Monday morning, trough working into the Great Lakes, and ridging still hanging on. This looks very much like yesterday's. This is the European ensembles, by the way, the GFS ensembles is very much in agreement with this, believe it or not. So I think we've got some pretty good clarity on what at least the next 10 days may look like. And beyond that, always it gets murky. But I think given the agreement, we might be able to elevate our confidence a little bit. But as we go through the week, that ridge continues to build on the west coast. It's not going to last long because we've got another low pressure, upper level low or mid level low, and energy coming into the west coast is going to crash that ridge down. But in the meantime, big trough starts to develop over the east, and again, it's going to be transient, but it'll give us a few days of break in the big heat. And there it is toward midweek as we get on into Wednesday, Thursday. There's the ridge axis pushing east. We're going to have this heat release pattern where we get this big buildup of heat in the west. Then the heat moves east. As it does so, we're going to see temperatures begin to warm back up in the east. You can see the trough building back into the west as we get on in toward next weekend, troughing over New England, keeping us cool there. And in that northwesterly flow, as that heat builds east, coming off the Rockies, there's a lot of warm air in the mid-levels, probably is going to cap thunderstorm development, but you'll still see some energy in the flow, and where that happens, you're going to get big instability and may have a big wind potential with some MCSs that form and kind of move from the northwest to the southeast. So maybe the eastern part of the country into the mid-Atlantic, and then the southeast could be the beneficiary of some of these, if you want to call it that, segments of thunderstorms, and maybe have a higher wind threat with some of this. And eventually all of that's going to work on off and flatten out over time. We get a big continental ridge that'll largely cap with zonal flow, largely cap thunderstorm and shower production. So we're not going to see, if this comes to pass, we're probably not going to see very much in the way of widespread severe weather events and big rain activity, maybe along the west coast. For you folks up in Seattle and Oregon and down into Northern California, could see a little bit more in the way of shower and thunderstorm activity. And that sort of just, look at this big ridge develops, sort of situates back to the west with time, migrates back to the west. If it does so, we'll see that trough redevelop in the east, bringing temperatures back down. This is way out in La La Land though, folks. We're talking like the 10th, 12th of July, something like that, as we get on out here, and could see again northwesterly flow events. 850 temperatures, see how they start out Monday, warm in the west, warm in the east, kind of cool in the center of the country. That will change as we get on in toward the middle and end of next week. Anomalies, low anomalies get centered out here in West Texas and eastern New Mexico, all the way up through New England. We see kind of neutral signal, so not looking at a lot of heat across the northeast down to the southeast. Really big heats out in the northwest as we get on in toward the end of the week, and then things kind of build again. You get that heat release back into the east next week, and we just go from there. So that's what we're looking at, folks, in terms of the long range pattern. 8 to 14 day temperature outlook from the SPC, it's not the SPC, it's the CPC, get it right, cold rain. And down here we see a signal for above normal temperatures from Texas to the lower mid-Atlantic, above normal again across the northwest, and then below normal to near normal for the rest of the country, mostly above in Hawaii and Alaska here. And temperature or precipitation going to be a little bit more above here in the southwest. I was going to show you the drought monitor today, and I'm going to show you that in the next segment, so pardon me for that, but we've been in a drought out here, and this could help as we get on out in time. And there's your above normal precipitation signal for much of the nation, above in Alaska and Hawaii as well. We're going to wrap things up with your geological and space weather update and the drought monitor. Hey, look, it's the drought monitor. We're going to show that first in an odd place for it in the show, but hey, whatever. We got to do what we got to do. This was released yesterday, and it was not released at the time of the show, which is why I didn't show it yesterday. But desert southwest into South Texas, that's where we're finding the biggest drought conditions, also up here in the northwest too, around Montana. And fortunately, the last map that we looked at with the above normal signal for precipitation will certainly help out here. Florida, you guys are in drought conditions out there too. Pop-up showers and thunderstorms there should provide some relief, but no hurricanes or tropical systems in sight for any of those areas anytime soon. Sun looking pretty quiet for right now. Coronal hole will be turning toward us, providing a more enhanced solar wind stream. Nothing going on the coronagraph. See a few things popping off here, but nothing facing toward Earth. We were in minor geomagnetic storm conditions from that last coronal hole's solar wind stream. It was a little less than predicted, which is good. So we probably didn't see much in the way of auroras at all. And then, of course, right here, we've got sunspots showing or turning toward us, folks. And we click on that one. A couple of areas are going away. We've got one coming in here with polarity that's positive in front and trailing negative polarity. We're starting to maybe see a little bit more of interaction here. If we do, we'll be on high alert for solar flares. Nothing at all going on the volcano or earthquake side of things right now. And I meant to show you one more thing. I'm going to do this right on the fly because this is what I wanted to do. I'm going to go to space weather and go to my sun and moon map and show you how to do this. Get a little look behind the scenes today, folks. Moon phases. There it is, waxing crescent 6.4. And if we want to look at that really cool thing that shows the day and the night map, we'll just go to that. Look, there it is. Moon headed toward full moon phase, but it's going to be a while till we get there. It's actually, if we go back a page, we can actually see it'll be, when is it going to be? First full moon will be July the 10th. So there you have it. Day and night, we're fully in sunlight now, folks. And that is it for the show. That leads us into the answer to today's Weather IQ question. Yeah, folks, had all this stuff queued up and it would have been a nice seamless show with nice seamless segments, but the computer, what? Yes, it crashed again, and that's what's happened. So that's what we've had going on today, but in any way, we get through it and we get a show out anyway, because that's what we do here at Cold Rain's Weather World. We've got all the weather and all the shows, and we've got all your answers to the Weather IQ questions. And here is the question: what percentage of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans? And the answer is 71% or thereabouts. If you didn't know that, now you do. And also, you should know that in 1954, on June the 27th, the world's first nuclear power plant opens in Obninsk. I think that's how you say it. In the USSR, it was opened near Moscow, became the first plant in the world to generate electricity for a power grid, marking a pivotal moment in the history of nuclear energy. And oh, by the way, yes, Vera Wing is still very much alive. She was born on June the 27th, 1949, so we'll wish her a happy 75th birthday. That's the best way to say that, if I could just get the words out. But yes, Vera Wing, designer of plenty of clothing and apparel. So now you have it, folks. That's it. I'll be back tomorrow with an abbreviated show, but in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful day and a very nice weekend doing whatever it is that you do. And of course, this is Cold Rain reminding you that if other channels run 24/7, we got you covered right here, right now, 4814. Have a great day, folks.